Hey everyone, Tony D with another hot take. Man, so much going on, it's hard to keep up. So, the Rochester police force, their command center, their big guys, all their officers, they quit en masse rather than face the scrutiny of these idiot local government people and get out while the getting's good. For those of you who don't know, the Rochester riot, I mean, you probably saw the BLM guys trashing a restaurant. That was sparked by this guy who was in police custody. And this actually happened, I think, back in March. Anyhow, the story that I read was he was on PCP and he was acting very erratic, and they were worried about beer virus, I almost said the word, and they put what's known as a spit hood over his head, and through no fault of that, he ended up being dead. And I'm not quite sure why, but and then the video came out apparently recently, and that's what sparked the riots. The mini riots in Rochester. So the rumor or the scuttlebutt on the internet says that these guys are all getting out and retiring before they can be fired. So they save their pensions and whatnot, which may be true. So I think Tim Pool is touting this as, well, this is BLM finally getting a win, right? Because they're demoralizing the police and they're quitting. Look, they'll find other people to fill the roles. And maybe those people will be better. And in fact, I've always said that, a lot of times in government, you get problems with people because they've been in their positions too long. And so I think this could actually be a very good thing for the Rochester Police Department. However, it depends on the local government. Now, if the local government goes very woke and wonderful, kind of like Portland, that could be very bad, because then they could end up hiring these woke police officers who would be more like the bobbies in the UK currently, who are completely ineffectual in a lot of places. Sargon's done a few videos on this. Sometimes the bobbies in England end up getting pelted by stuff and run away. It depends on the situation and the part of the country they're in, but it's happened. I've seen the videos. It's pretty embarrassing. I can't imagine American cops standing there while idiot, Antifa members pelt them with stuff and then finally giving up and going, oh! Eventually, even in Portland, where they're pretty cut, they eventually turn it around and go, I can arrest you now, you've gone too far. And then the billy clubs come out. So, and that's strange for me to say, because as a libertarian, we were always criticizing the cops and saying they've got too much power. What are you doing? You need police reform. And of course, everybody ignored us. Now you have all these people on the left saying we need to abolish the police completely. And it's just like, we're standing there going, did you not hear anything we said? We said reform the police. You can put in things. You can make them respect the Constitution. Cops shouldn't be able to search you. They shouldn't be able to question you. They shouldn't they shouldn't be able to ask for your papers. If you do something, if you're suspicious in some way, and it's a very tough line to draw, but you do something illegal and they see you, obviously that's a different story. They can stop you, they can search you, they can do whatever they want at that point. You've committed some sort of crime and they have evidence, they have an eyewitness, them. But if you're just minding your own business, cops should F off, right? They should. If you're not breaking the law, if you're not doing anything, what business? I mean, now obviously they're human beings. They could say hi to you or how you doing tonight, sir, or whatever. And that's usually a tactic they use to see if you're if you're wound up or weird, right? Because if they say, "Hey, how you doing, sir?" and you say, "Oh, I'm doing great. How are you, officer?" and okay, then you get the vibe, oh, okay, this guy's just out for a walk or whatever. But if you go, "Hey, how you doing, sir?" and he goes, Why are you talking to me?" then you know something might be a little wrong with the guy. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you got to break the law, but it might require a few follow-up questions, like, "Well, I'm just out here for a walk like you, sir. Is there a reason you're carrying all those knives?" "I like knives. They're good." It seems to be a lot of red stuff on those knives. Have you been cutting pomegranates? Maybe? Yeah. Some pomegranates, yeah. That was my little serial killer character. I hope you enjoyed that. Anyhow, the Rochester Police Department quitting, however, is, the real telling response was the response of the mayor when they asked, "Well, what are we going to do, Mayor?" And she said, "I don't know." That should tell you right there the extent of her leadership skills, because you don't say those kinds of things when you're a leader. Can you imagine Trump coming out in a press conference and they ask him a question like, "What are we going to do about the invasion of California by the Chinese army, Mr. President?" And he goes, "I don't know. I mean, what are we going to do about this or that?" I mean, you don't say, "I don't know," like, "Oh, I don't have any idea here." I mean, that's not something people want to hear. When you lead, you manage to a great extent. And you do lie, or you spin at the very least, because the big news today about Trump, or one of the many things, is that he talked to Bob Woodward of all people, and Woodward is reporting that he wanted to play down the beer virus. The reason he wanted to play it down is because early back in February, people were looking at the stats and it looked very, very bad. So you could be the sort of leader of the free world where you come out and say, "Well, this looks very, very bad. We're going to have millions dead," and put people in a panic. Or you could say, "Well, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I mean, we're on top of it. We're working on it. So, sit tight and we're going to get back to you." That's the kind of thing you want to say. Now, you don't want to lie to people outright. You want to say this is not something to worry about at all. But, he wants to keep the spirits up. You don't want to demoralize people. You don't want to come out screaming at the podium, "We're all going to die." It's even worse to come out and say something indecisive like, "Well, it might be deadly, but it might not." No, you don't want to say that. So it's dumb for the mayor of Rochester, in my view, to come out and say, "Well, I don't know." What she should come out with, because it's not like she didn't know about this before they had the meeting, is come out like, "Well, we have a plan in place to replace the chief of police and his staff, and we'll be going through that over the next few days, and hopefully we'll have a command structure back very soon." Like, that's the kind of thing you say. You don't say, "Well, I don't know. I don't know. They might burn the city to the ground, but, who knows?" You don't want to say that. You want people to have hope. Even if you're all going to die, you want people to have hope. I mean, if tomorrow a meteor is going to hit the earth and kill us all, the governments wouldn't tell you about it. No, why would they? You don't want to spend your last moments in writhing agony as people shoot each other in the street. You're going to say, "Well, it doesn't look good, but we're working on various contingency plans, and hopefully we're going to knock this thing out of the sky, or we're going to shoot nuclear missiles at it," or whatever you tell them. Even though everybody's going to be dead in a few days, you say we're trying all the way up to the end. And people will conclude whatever they're going to conclude. So this is really a failure, in my view, of leadership from the Rochester mayoral administration, because it's their responsibility to hire people. That's what a leader does. It's like being a producer of a movie. If you come out, if your movie's a flop, or your movie's behind production, say by 10 days, and it's the fault of the director and he quits, And they said, and your investors come to you, well, what's going to happen? You go, I don't know. That's very, very bad. What you want to say to your investors is, well, don't worry, we have a contingency in place. We're going to scramble. We're going to get a new director. We're going to bring more people in, and we're going to shoot this puppy. Don't you worry. You're going to get your money. I mean, that's what you want to say to them. Now, is that true? It might be. You're not lying to them. You're technically not telling them the truth. You're being overly optimistic, and you're not, couching it that way. So, I don't blame the officers for quitting. But I mean, this is part of the problem with police departments anyway. A lot of times, people in police departments aren't from there. It used to be if you were a local cop, you were from the local community. Not so much anymore for the bigger communities. I mean, a lot of people get out of the police academy and there's no jobs where they want to be police. So they have to go elsewhere. I mean, I had a friend who was in a police force, and he wanted to be in the town that I grew up in, and they promised him that. And then when he got out of the police academy, they didn't have any room for him, and he ended up 3 towns over in a town that, it wasn't his town. He lived there too. We both lived in the same town. He ended up in a completely different town, and he eventually got used to that. I mean, it wasn't the end of his life, but it was something you had to deal with, and that's what these cops deal with too. It's also true that cops who are young. Now, Tim Pool, his report on this, he said he thinks that they're going to end up replacing Rochester with the command structure with younger guys who don't know what they're doing. Well, that might be true, but it also might be true that you'll get younger guys who are more ambitious. It's been my experience talking to my friend that younger cops, they want to do stuff, because they're young, and they want to, be in like big cities and fight real crime and, do super cop stuff that you see on TV. The reality is different, of course, but they're up for the challenge because they're young and they have the energy for it. So, do they have inexperience? Yeah, but they also think outside the box. They are not thinking the old ways of doing things. They're thinking the new ways. Now, if they go down the woke path, they're screwed because that's not going to work. But hopefully, they'll attack the situation head on, and they'll be willing to confront these protesters in the streets and say, "Oh no, we're not tolerating this," and hopefully they'll maintain the law and order that Rochester and the rest of the country deserves. Okay, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.